Part 2, Carbohydrates, the uninterrupted combustible of the encephalon and its strategic management. I am Naresh Saraph, and I welcome you to this series of intimate philosophical dialogues. Friends, before we commence this profound discourse, permit me a humble caveat. This series is intended solely for the cultivation of profound contemplation, the expansion of cognitive horizons, and the elevation of human awareness. The paradigms articulated herein are synthesized from ancient philosophical tenets and my own empirical understanding. This discourse does not constitute medical, clinical, or Ayurvedic counsel, nor does it harbor the slightest intent to transgress upon anyone's deeply held convictions. I implore you to receive it with an open intellect, profound maturity, and a deeply contemplative spirit. In our inaugural discourse, we established the epistemological framework of the C-cube and illuminated the invisible yet voracious metabolic attrition of intellectual labor. Today, we shall plunge into the biochemical depths of the first pillar of the C-cube, carbohydrates. Carbohydrates constitute the primary, non-negotiable, and absolute combustible for our cerebral apparatus. For the intellectual worker, whose very livelihood depends on the sustained luminescence of the mind, mastering the management of this fuel is an imperative of the highest order. Permit me to construct an analogy. Imagine you are tasked with piloting a sophisticated spacecraft on an interstellar voyage of immense critical importance. Your vessel's propulsion system is running dangerously low on fuel. As you navigate through the cosmic void, your attention is morbidly fixated on the rapidly depleting fuel gauge, haunted by the specter of catastrophic engine failure. In such a state of chronic existential anxiety, can you execute complex navigational maneuvers? Can you appreciate the sublimity of the cosmos? Categorically, no. This metaphor perfectly encapsulates the state of the human brain when it is deprived of the precise qualitative and quantitative measure of carbohydrates. The knowledge worker is perpetually engaged in high-order executive functions, synthesizing disparate data, engaging in abstract reasoning, and executing critical decisions. These complex neurocomputational processes demand a relentless, uninterrupted supply of glucose, which is the metabolic end product of carbohydrate digestion. However, herein lies the grand tragedy of contemporary nutritional habits. The modern diet has indiscriminately conflated two fundamentally divergent categories of carbohydrates: simple carbohydrates and complex carbohydrates. To treat them as equivalent is a biochemical fallacy of the highest order. Simple carbohydrates are analogous to highly volatile, dry kindling cast into a furnace. They ignite instantaneously, producing a violent, spectacular burst of thermal energy, but they incinerate just as rapidly, leaving behind nothing but coal ash. Refined sugars, bleached flour maida, white bread, commercially baked pastries, aerated beverages, and artificially sweetened juices. These are the quintessential simple carbohydrates. Upon ingestion, they precipitate a violent, exponential spike in blood glucose levels. The brain is suddenly inundated with a surplus of energy. The individual experiences a transient state of hyperarousal and euphoria. However, this physiological exuberance is brutally short-lived. Within an hour, the pancreas, reacting to this glycemic crisis, floods the system with insulin, causing the blood sugar to plummet precipitously. This phenomenon is the notorious sugar crash. The aftermath is a state of profound cognitive lethargy, uncontrollable yawning, emotional irritability, and a complete fragmentation of sustained concentration. Conversely, complex carbohydrates are akin to dense, seasoned logs of oak placed within a hearth. They require time to ignite, but once combusted, they yield a steady, profound, and enduring thermal output for hours, devoid of any erratic fluctuations. Ancient grains such as sorghum, jawar, pearl millet bajra, finger millet rajai, unpolished brown rice, whole wheat, steel-cut oats, sweet potatoes, and legumes. These are the paragons of complex carbohydrates. Their intricate molecular structure dictates a protracted digestive process. Consequently, They release glucose into the bloodstream in a meticulously measured, sustained cadence, providing the brain with an uninterrupted, reliable supply of metabolic fuel. Let us examine a practical manifestation of this dichotomy. Consider two senior legal analysts, Ananya and Vikram, tasked with dissecting a voluminous, highly complex corporate merger document. Ananya begins her day with a breakfast of refined, sugar laden cereal and processed fruit juice. By 11 a.m., her initial burst of energy has evaporated. She is reaching for her second cup of espresso to combat the descending cognitive fog. Her analytical precision wavers, and she misses subtle legal nuances. Vikram, conversely, consumes a breakfast of steel cut oats fortified with almonds and a spoonful of clarified butter ghee. At 11 a.m., he remains immersed in a state of deep flow, his analytical faculties functioning with surgical precision. The disparity in their performance is not a matter of intellectual capacity. It is entirely a matter of biochemical fuel management. For the knowledge worker, the super ultra balancing of carbohydrates necessitates a conscious, deliberate eradication of simple carbohydrates, substituting them universally with complex carbohydrates. When your morning sustenance consists of a robust rajai porridge or a jawar bhakre, your cerebral cortex is endowed with a steady stream of energy that sustains it well into the afternoon. The desperate, compulsive reliance on caffeinated stimulants is eradicated. Your cognitive focus remains unbroken, steady, and luminous, akin to the unwavering flame of a traditional oil lamp in a sanctuary devoid of wind. The scientific consensus dictates that approximately 50 to 55% of the daily caloric expenditure should be derived from complex carbohydrates. For an intellectual laborer requiring 2,000 calories daily, this translates to roughly 250 to 275 grams of complex carbohydrates strategically distributed across the diurnal cycle. The underlying philosophy is one of equilibrium, avoiding the extremes of glycemic feast and famine, ensuring a perpetual, measured supply of cerebral combustible. We shall meet soon in the next part, but do not forget to subscribe to the Naresh Saraph channel. Quickly like the video, press the bell icon, hype it, contemplate it, and begin to live life with profound understanding.